Okay. Last thing I want to talk about is just working. Like, let's say I'm building this app or whatever, and I'm using these some libraries or something to do some work. Like, let's say
Hmm.
dragging and dropping. I've used the drag and drop library in React,
Okay.
and then that library doesn't offer the functionality that I'm needing. You know, so I guess at that point you say, okay, I have to dive into the code base and work on these changes, or like how do people go about that in like a real world scenario? And
Yeah.
how do you get good at being able to do that? I guess I feel like that's what separates the pros from the not so pros, and they can dive in this code base, customize these features that they want,
Hmm.
get what they want out of it.
Cool. So a lot of the things that you're saying, I'm hearing like a lot of really good engineering instincts. So you have this like healthy skepticism of, well, how should I move forward? And that's really good to have. So you being at this blockchain startup, I imagine there are other members on this team, perhaps some that are fairly experienced. If I think this would be a really good instance to pull aside a team member or two and kind of have like a whiteboarding or a chat around kind of the best way to move forward. Maybe look into technologies together. I
Yeah,
do really appreciate your skepticism and not wanting to jump in and try this out all yourself. That's a great way to learn all of those intricacies. But if you're being paid to get stuff done, uh, it
yeah,
might not be optimizing for kind of your output.
yeah.
So yeah,
It almost seems like that. Okay, if I'm building this app, I have this one objective, but then if you got to go dive into this code base and do this other thing, it's like you're pretty much being like a I don't know. It's like if you want to build a house, and then but before you build the house, then you got to go learn how to make bricks. That takes a couple years to learn how to make bricks or something.
mhm.
It's gonna take you forever before you get to building your house. What you actually want to build. You got to go learn how to do this other piece and engineer this other piece that you need.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I guess the kind of continuing with your analogy, yeah, if you wanted to build this drag and drop functionality yourself, yeah, you would have to learn how to build the brick yourself. How to combine the raw materials and
Yeah,
fire the brick and how to cool it down and all of that without breaking it.
yeah,
And doing that reliably. And if you were to use some library that's not quite there, then maybe it would be like taking the blueprints or kind of the recipe for a brick and modifying it slightly, which
yeah,
sounds like it very well could be easier than doing it from scratch, unless you need to make kind of pretty deep changes that
yeah.
change the nature of the brick itself. um, yeah, I mean that's kind of when it becomes more of an art, just figuring out kind of the best way to move forward. And I'm sure for this question specifically, I'd probably defer to someone that's more in kind of the web technology space, because there are a lot of kind of intricacies uh, when it comes to drag and drop that are like browser specific and kind of domain specific. Um, but I'm sure any of those kind of team members that you're mentioning would be a great sounding board, or could point you in the right direction. And I'm talking about maybe even just a 5 to 10 minute chat that could save you massive amounts of time. Trying to
Yeah,
do some proper drag and drop library that has like non-trivial functionality could very easily take a few weeks. And plugging some library in, maybe you could just get the feature done in a day.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I guess you just gotta pick and choose your battles.
when I studied kind of school, there was a lot of I guess focus on kind of these lower level problems, such as like floating point arithmetic and implementing that on hardware, and kind of how this is represented at the machine level. Like you have your exponent, and then the other part, which I can't think of what it's called right now. But like that's something that you don't have to worry about. On the web, you can assume all of that works. And as kind of like software becomes more and more sophisticated, there are going to be more and more of these abstractions where you're thinking kind of with a higher and higher level. And I think the kind of industry-wide adoption of this kind of React style, a declarative style of programming, is one of those instances, kind of bringing in this immutable kind of declarative style of programming where you can reason about what's happening much more effectively instead of doing kind of the DOM manipulation yourself, and kind of keeping all that in sync.